Hi guys, a very good morning, rather afternoon to all of you. Well, we are on our road to CAT 2022. I'm sure a lot of you are putting in your full efforts. We have about 3 months left. But let's not only focus on CAT. There are a lot of other good MBA entrance exams that you can actually write with the preparation you're doing for CAT. So today's session is about exploring what other options a student might have, what other exams a student might want to write, given that he or she is actually thinking seriously about the MBA in the next year 2023. So I'm going to give you a list of all the top entrance exams as far as MBA is concerned in India for a student who's seriously considering getting into the top colleges in the country. So that's the agenda for the session today. Let's go ahead and take a look at what are these exams. I'm going to talk a little bit about the top colleges in these exams. I'm going to give you a basic idea about the pattern of the paper, a little bit of an idea about the timing, anything unique. So there are about 4 or 5 aspects I'm going to discuss about each one of these exams. So let's go ahead and start off with the first thing that I want to talk about is some questions that usually come to me. This is very commonly asked, and there's a reason why I'm putting this up. So questions are, tell us some good colleges. So students usually, when I have a session, students say, sir, tell me some good college. Then they'll say, okay, which college is good for me? Then the question is like, okay, is this particular college an XYZ or ABC, some college? Is this college a good college? Then should I join some college? So these are the kind of questions that actually end up coming to me, and they ask me, okay, should I write this exam? So these are the common kind of questions that come. But before I give you an answer, you need to ask yourself first, are these the right questions to ask? Now, why am I saying this? Why? In fact, I'm already going ahead and saying that these are not the correct questions to ask. The reason is, I'll use an analogy to explain the reason. If you come to me straight away and ask me, which bus should I take? What answer will I give you? Do I know who you are? Do I know where you want to go? Do I know anything about your destination? Without knowing it, can I say randomly, yes, take this bus? Obviously, I will not say that, right? Similarly, if you tell me where you want to go, if you tell me what is the purposes, and what are the constraints that you have, given these pieces of information, I might be in a position to tell you what is a good mode of transport or not. So the same idea is continued in your career option also. You can't just ask, is a college good? Guys, remember, good is a relative term. I am good, but then there might be somebody who is better than me. Somebody might be better than me, but there might be another person who is even better than that person. So ultimately what you need to understand is a college depends on the student and the student's ability. If you are a person who is currently getting a 95 percentile in mocks, why will I ask you to prepare for a 20th rank college? You are already at a 95 percentile. In the next 2 to 3 months, you can easily become 99 or a 98 percentile. So I will suggest only the top 10 colleges to you, right? So you need to understand that colleges are not absolute. I mean, I cannot say that, yes, this college is good for you, because that good is depending upon a student, right? So what you need to understand is a college selection is a function of your career choice. What do you want to do in your life? Where do you want to go over the next 10 years? Where do you see yourself? And is there any other constraint that is stopping you? So these are the things that you basically have to understand or give the information before I go ahead and tell you whether a college is good or bad. Okay. Varun is saying, is MAT an MBA entrance exam? Is it similar to NMAT? Varun, I will talk about MAT. It's a part of the discussion today. So just hold on. You can also reduce my screen size. Yeah, that'll be great. Okay, so the second thing you also need to understand is all exams and all colleges are not for everyone, because there are certain exams which are above a particular level. There are certain exams which are easy for preparation. So you need to understand where you stand. Can you crack a particular exam, or do you want to take a look at the other options? You can prepare for the exam, but you should not basically, so you need to understand where you stand. If somebody who's at a 30, 40, 50 percentile, and you can prepare for CAT, I'm not saying you cannot, but the point is, will you be getting any great colleges if you write the CAT exam with this level of preparation? So you have two choices: either go for a different exam, which you can probably end up scoring better, or you need to take a look at, should I prepare once again? Right? So basically, the questions are not about whether a college is good or bad. Okay? So the same thing happens in the case of a career. First ask, what do you want to do? Do you want to see yourself getting into calculation based finance kind of a job, or a marketing creative kind of a job? You need to understand where your interests lie. Once you decide that interest, then you can shortlist. The second thing that comes is, okay, given this interest, where your interest lies, given these interests, the next thing is, what colleges are better suited for these interests. Once the colleges are decided, then you'll look about, okay, I want to get into college number A or college name A. Where does these or what exams does the college consider? That is where the exams list will then come to you. Okay, so the correct approach, as I already mentioned, is the destination comes first. Then you're talking about the second best, the second thing is, what is the way to reach that destination, which is your college. That is a mode of transport in my analogy. Once you decide your destination, you'll discuss then about the bus. Okay, and the third is, if you want to take a bus, where should you start? So that is basically your exam. Where does this bus come and halt, and where does it end you, or where does it drop you off? That is where the exam preparation comes into play. Okay, so list of exams, for match with your potential, and then plan your preparation accordingly. So that's the way in which you need to decide. So I am assuming that you do all this for yourself, but now I'll go ahead and talk about the various exams. Once you decide what is your career option going to be, once you decide what colleges you want to look at, then you will be coming up to some of these exams that I'm going to mention. I'm not saying that you are supposed to write all the exams that I'm mentioning, but yes, I'm giving you information about the exams that you can write depending upon the flow that I've mentioned. Okay, let's take a look at the first exam, being the CAT. No doubt it's the biggest MBA entrance exam as far as India is concerned. Anybody who dreams of getting into the top 10, 15 colleges in the country will guaranteedly prepare for this CAT exam. I mean, it's a no-brainer. You have to prepare for this. The reason is all the IIMs in the country take their admission only through CAT. Only through CAT. So if you're dreaming of an IIM, you have to write CAT. Apart from these top IIMs, there are a lot of private colleges and some other government colleges also, which are really well renowned in the country, well established. They have made a name for themselves in the industry, very well respected, and these colleges are also in the top 10-15 colleges in the list. So they also accept the CAT score. So what are these colleges? You have one of the very good college called FMS. It's in Delhi, one of the best colleges and the cheapest college to get into as far as your MBA fee is concerned. But the salaries are at par with the top-notch MBA colleges, so IIMs. So that is one of the college called FMS. You have another stellar private college called SP Jain. Similarly, you have NITI. Then you have IITs. You have two there are a lot of IITs, but two of the IITs rank in the top 15-20 for sure. That's IIT Delhi and IIT Bombay. In fact, they are going to be in the top 12 also, if I'm not mistaken. Again, different rankings change here and there, but yeah, definitely if you ask me, will they be in the top 10-12 colleges? Yes, definitely Delhi and Bombay will be there in the top 10-12 programs in the country. So yes, there are IITs which accept your CAT score only, and of course you have a college called MDI Gurgaon, and we have JBIMS, which is again in Bombay. A lot of good colleges accept these CAT scores. So what is a CAT paper pattern? Now CAT, we can expect anywhere between, so now 34 is not going to happen, because we know for sure that this year CAT exam, it's guaranteed to be a 2-hour exam, because they are conducting it in 3 slots. By the way, CAT officially has not released the time duration as of now, but yes, last year also there were 3 slots, this year also there are 3 slots. So given that 3 slots, which means it's 3 slots of 2 hours each. 3 slots of 3 hours each is very difficult, because there itself it is 9 hours. Then there'll be some time gap for changing and all. So you can't accommodate 3 slots of 3 hours each. So it is 3 hours of 2 hours each, which is guaranteed. So in that case, we're going to look at English 24 questions, DILR 20 and Quant 22. This is the paper pattern of last year. We expect the paper pattern this year also to be kind of similar. Of course, there are going to be 4 options. Every question will have 4 options, or there are some questions called theta, which I'm sure you guys know about. There is a sectional time limit and sectional cutoff. So you have 40 minutes per section. The first section is English, second section is DILR, third section is Quant. You can't change the order. It's always English, second Logic and DI, and third is Maths. You can't change that order, and always the time limit is 40. You can't go to the next section before 40 minutes. You can't stay in a section after 40 minutes. So there's no choice for you. And yes, it's 2 hours. It's not 3 hours anymore, because you have, as I said, they've come out and said that it's going to be a 3 slot a day, which means 2 hours only. And it's going to be 3 slots, not 2. So the marking scheme is +3, -1 and 0. So 3 marks if you get it right, -1 if you get it wrong, and of course 0 if you leave it. Now, what is unique about this? As I mentioned, there are theta questions. I don't think any other exam that I'm going to talk about today has this concept of TITA, that is type in the answer, or non-MCQ. So the whole idea here is sometimes options make the questions a bit easier to solve, because you can check by options, you can eliminate options. But yes, they introduce this idea of non-MCQs or theta questions, where you have to type the answer. There is nothing else, just a question and no options. You have just a square box. So you're supposed to type the answer in that square box, whatever you calculate. So making the questions a little bit more difficult, because if you have an option, you'll kind of find easier methods using the options, but there are no options here. So the questions will become a bit more difficult. And the exam is always on the last Sunday of November. This is a given. They don't change it. They have not changed it for so many years now. It's always going to be the last Sunday of November, which means this year it's going to be on 27th of November. Okay. Varun is asking, does IMT Ghaziabad accept CAT score? Yes, Varun, IMT Ghaziabad accept CAT score also. It accepts ZAT also. I'll talk about it in the next slide, which is the ZAT exam. Okay. By the way, guys, before I go ahead and talk about ZAT and other exams, please give me a like on this session. If you are not already subscribed to the channel, please do hit on the subscribe channel and on the notification button, so that when we come up with a lot of sessions like this, we are going to come up with a lot of sessions like this over the next 3 months, you will be notified about them on YouTube. We are also there on Instagram. We are going to post, in fact, we are posting free questions every day for you to solve. So please follow us on the Instagram channel too, as well as download our app. We are conducting certain sessions which are exclusively available only on our app. These are free sessions. You can just download the app and follow us, or rather keep the notification on, so that you know what free sessions are happening on the app too. Okay, let's go on. The second best exam is the ZAT exam. Almost about 1 lakh students write this exam. ZAT exam is written by almost about 1 lakh students. Now the top colleges are, of course, XLRI Jamshedpur. That's the best college in this exam that accepts the ZAT score. XLRI has 2 programs. One is called as a BM, that is a business management, and the other is called as a HRM, which is human resources management. Both of them are top notch in their own domains. Apart from that, SP Jain, which I already mentioned, accepts CAT score, also accepts your ZAT score. So you can apply to SP Jain either with a CAT score or a ZAT score. Then you have MICA, we have XIM, we have IMT Ghaziabad, then you have KJ Somaiya, Green Lake. So these are the other colleges. Again, this is not exhaustive, which means there are a lot of other colleges that I'm not mentioning here. I have just mentioned the top 5, 6. I don't have space to mention too many. So whatever are there in the top 5, 6, those are the only ones that I'm mentioning over here. So yes, the list is quite long and distinguished, but I've mentioned only about 6 or 7 colleges right now. So these are the top colleges that accept your ZAT score. Okay. Then you have the pattern. Now ZAT is slightly different in terms of pattern. So what you have is they somehow combine logic and English together, whereas CAT, DI and logic are combined together, but here they combine logic and English together, and there will be 26 questions. At least that's the expected pattern. There is a new section which does not exist in CAT. That's one of the unique areas, one of the unique things about this exam is that the section called decision making. This decision making unfortunately is not there in many of the other exams. Probably one or two questions come in a SNAP exam or one or two questions come in an NMAT exam, but again, it's not an entire set that you have to worry about. But in ZAT, yes, a full section on decision making, and you will be having a minimum requirement in decision making. You will be having a cutoff in decision making. So that's about 21 questions coming decision making, and finally quant and DI together will give you 27 questions. That's the pattern. There will be 5 options for every question here, unlike CAT where there are 4 questions. Here, 4 options, sorry. Here there are all the questions are going to be your MCQs. There is no concept of theta here. All questions are MCQs. And the other thing is, the best part I like about ZAT, I love exams which don't have a sectional time limit, because I come from the old school where I believe that if you're trying to test the aptitude of a student, then allowing the student to decide which section to spend what amount of time is a part of that decision making process. So the students will decide what is their favorite section, what is their weak area, and therefore allocate time. So that time distribution, that idea of distributing time is also a factor in your exam preparation, which is the reason why I like ZAT a bit over CAT. CAT gives sectional time limit. That's the reason why I like it slightly lesser than ZAT. I'm not talking about which exam is better. I'm talking about my personal opinion about what exam I like. So I like ZAT a little bit better because, again, as I said, there's no sectional time limit. A total of 165 minutes for these 3 sections. However, GK gives you 25 questions. So these 25 questions you will be required to solve in 15 minutes, which is basically the second part of the paper. So there are 2 parts of the paper. One is the part number 1, which is 165 minutes. The second part is GK 25 questions, which is about 15 minutes. Now the marking scheme is +1, -1/4 and -0.1. This is quite unique again. So here, if you leave a question unattempted, the first 8 unattempted questions, there is no problem. You will get 0 marks. But the 9th question onwards, every unattempted question, you will start getting a negative -0.1 mark. So the ZAT exam basically says that, look, I will give you 8 chances of leaving questions. After leaving 8 questions, 9th question onwards, you did not prepare well enough, so I'll start penalizing you. That's one way of ZAT's thinking. So they will start giving negative marks even if you leave the questions. So yeah, you try to attempt more as much as possible and try to minimize your questions that you leave. But yeah, if you don't know, you should not mark it randomly, because it is still better to leave the question as compared to randomly marking the question. So that's the whole idea. Negative marking for unattempted questions is something unique. And the GK section score is not considered. So now many of the students might ask, why is this happening? Why are they conducting the GK section if the score is not taken into account with respect to the calls for the interview? Now the reason why GK is taken into account is because that probably GK, and also there's a writing, which is a essay that you end up typing there. Both of these are rather considered when you go for the interview process. So your GK score will basically give them an idea about how well read are you, or how much are you following in current affairs, because typically current affairs is what is asked in your GK. So yes, this score of GK is not directly useful in the interview call for you, but once you're sitting in the interview process, they might want to take a look at how much did you score in the essay and how much did you score in the GK. But these 2 parts, which is GK and essay writing, which you are supposed to write, are not considered as a part of your interview call process. What is the date of exam? ZAT exam is always on the first Sunday of January. However, 2023 first Sunday, 1st January 2023 itself is a Sunday. So when normally they give first Sunday, but if the first Sunday is the 1st itself of January, and 1st January is usually nationwide, it's a holiday, so they will shift this. In fact, this year they're shifting it to 8th January. 8 Jan 2023. So the date has already come out. So they are nice people. ZAT does not say that, okay, you party on 31st, then come on first morning and write the exam. Usually they don't do that. Nice faculty. They say, fine, first Sunday I want to keep, but if it's a 1st January, then I will not keep it on that day. I will push it to the 2nd January. Second Sunday of the January. Otherwise, it's always the first Sunday. Okay. Tejas says, I'm preparing for GMAT. So now for NMAT, what should be the strategy? Tejas, GMAT and NMAT are a bit different. I'll talk about NMAT exam. Please hold on. It's there as a part of the PPT. The third exam is the IIFT exam. Again, IIFT exam is for one single college called IIFT itself. It's one of the best colleges when it comes to finance and foreign trade. Very well known, and it's again in New Delhi. So if you are interested in this college, you will be writing this exam. The paper pattern is 4 options with a total time limit of 120 minutes. There is no sectional time limit. Once again, that is the reason why I like IIFT exam again. Quant 25, English 35, LRDI 30, GK. In this, GK will be considered. So GK will be considered as a part of your counting process or the part of your score. So you have to give importance to GK in your IIFT. Whereas in GK and ZAT, it's not really that much. You don't need to worry that much about it. Total questions keep varying from year to year. So this is what happened last year, I believe. But yeah, there is no guarantee that this is the only thing which is going to happen. So 110 they have maintained for 2 years. I think this is 110, right? Yeah, this is 60 plus 50 is 110. Last 2 years, the number of questions have been 110. But again, it does not mean that it's going to continue like this. IIFT has known to change it from 110 to 115 to 117. There are years where there were complete odd numbers like 117, 119 coming up also. So yes, this is expected. This is the range at which you can expect, plus or minus 110. The marking scheme is +3, -1 and 0 for normal sections. GK has a different score. GK is the only section where the score will change a little bit. It is +1.5 if you get it right, -1/2 if you get it wrong, and of course you leave it, it is 0. So there is a difference between the GK score and the normal question score. So you have to be careful about that. And yes, GK is considered a game changer. Lot of students don't prepare well in GK, but those of you who are weak in maths, one of the strategies you can employ is get some minimum score in maths and prepare well for GK and score well in GK, because usually the students who are good in maths and DILR kind of questions, they don't focus much on GK, but it is scoring. You can score in your GK. The exam is expected to be, it could be anywhere in November, December or Jan. Typically it happens around the time of CAT, but yes, there have been years where it went to December and Jan also because of the COVID, but this year I'm expecting it 1 week before or 1 week after your CAT exam. So typically that's the timeline. That's about your IIFT. The next big exam is NMAT, which is the entrance to the NMIMS group of colleges. Harshit, will this video be available on YouTube? Of course, Harshit, this is lively. It is currently being streamed live on YouTube, and the video will remain there on YouTube. Okay, so NMAT is the next big exam. Getting into the NMIMS colleges, the pattern is language skills, 36 questions, that is English. Quant, which is again 36, and logic, which is again 36. Now, NMAT is an adaptive in nature. The exam is adaptive in nature. So this is one of the unique things about NMAT. What is the meaning of adaptive nature of NMAT? So you write one question. If you get it right, you will get the next question a little bit more difficult. If you get the second question also right, you will get the next question a little bit more difficult. So it's like climbing a ladder. Right? It's like climbing a ladder. Now, if you get some question wrong, then the next question will be at the same level, or it might be ending up to be a little bit easier. So, adaptive nature means they will not decide what will be the question paper today. They will have a huge set of questions like 5,000, 10,000, 20,000 questions. And depending upon your answer, one random question of a difficulty nature will be picked up and be given to you in front of you. So it's not that they're going to prepare a paper. That's how GMAT also is. So there is no plus mark or minus mark. So the way it works is, you look at this graph. So if I want to mark this graph, this is your question and this is your difficulty level. So question number 1 is this difficulty level. You got it right. Question number 2 will be slightly higher. You will go to this level. Question number 3, again you got it. Question 2 you got it right. So question number 3 will be again slightly more difficult. So you can, let's see, question number 4 you got it wrong. So it could be same level. Question number 5 you got it right. Again it will go up. And so it goes, sometimes it might come down also. If you make 2 mistakes continuously, it will bring down the difficulty level. So basically it's like ups and downs. Finally, where did you reach? So there is no score per se. What NMAT exam and GMAT also basically they try to do is they try to figure out where have you reached in the difficulty level, how high have you reached in the difficulty level, and this will be converted into a score. This height that you've reached will be converted into a score. So it is not +1 mark or -1 mark or +3 marks. It doesn't work that way. So what they did is they have different heights, different scores. And irrespective of how many corrects, how many wrongs you got, finally if you are able to reach this, you will get that score. If you are able to reach this part, you will get this score. So this is what the exam does to you. What is the peak that you have reached? What is the most difficult that you have been able to correctly answer? That is what it tries to calculate, both GMAT and NMAT. Okay? Alright, so let's move on. So but again, this exam comes with a sectional time limit. So 28 minutes for your English, 52 minutes for your maths, and 40 minutes for your logic. Totally 2 hours exam. It's a total 2-hour exam. So some of you are asking, you're preparing for GMAT and NMAT, what should be your strategy? My suggestion is right now continue with your CAT preparation. The syllabus is more or less same, but starting from the month of September, that is the coming 2-3 days onwards, if you're really seriously writing NMAT, then you should look at least writing 6 to 8 mocks. If you're taking, so whichever month you're taking, so it could be in October, November, December. So one of the unique things about this exam is you can write it thrice. NMAT can be written thrice in a year, and this happens continuously over 3 months. So in the 3 months you have to pick 3 days. You can book your slot like a movie ticket that you have to buy and book. So that way 3 days the slots will be open. You have to book your slot, go ahead and write. So my suggestion is whichever month you are writing the exam, before that obviously you have to reach 6 to 8 mocks. So the best timeline is September, look at writing 3 to 4 mocks. October, look at writing 2 to 3 mocks. If you are writing the exam in October itself, then you will not have time for more than 2 or 3 mocks. If you are writing the exam in November, then probably you can look at 3 mocks in October and probably 1 mock in the month of November, assuming that you are giving it in the first half of November. So try to finish this 6 to 8, but space it. Again, if you're writing in December, then write less in September, write more, write a little bit more in October. You can write 3 to 4 mocks in November and keep only 1 or so for your December. So depending upon, don't write anything before 3-4 days of your exam, but finish off all your mocks evenly spaced the days before, depending upon when you're writing your NMAT exams. Pawan says, if I'm preparing for CAT, is it enough of NMAT and SNAP also? Yes, Pawan, if you prepare for CAT, it will more or less make your preparation for NMAT and SNAP also quite easy. So the syllabus is quite common. So let's move on from this NMAT. The next exam is Symbiosis, one of the quickest and the fastest exams to complete. The reason is because it is only 60 minutes. It's one of the shortest exam, and you can write this exam 2 times in a year. Okay, usually happens in December and in January. So the exam is conducted 3 times in a year. It's conducted once in December and twice in the month of January. You will be allowed to write 2 times out of these 3 exams. Unlike NMAT, it does not happen every day. These are 3 dates that the exam will be conducted. You have to pick which 2 days you want to go and write. Okay. Tejas says, now for baseline I will attempt the official NMAT mock on the website and decide on the weaknesses to refine. Yes, that sounds perfect, Tejas. Okay. Okay, this year SNAP has become 3 times. Okay, I will update myself. Can write. So okay, so thrice 2 out of 3. So you can write all 3. Okay, they're looking at the top score out of the 3. So that's what they're looking at, the best out of 3. So I think they have changed it from last year to this year. Yes, thanks for updating me. I will also change that in my future sessions. Right, so the top colleges are the family of SIBM, basically Symbiosis family of colleges. The top 2 happens to be SIBM Pune and SEM HRD. And of course you have SIBM Bangalore also, you have SIBM Hyderabad, you have SIBM Nashik, you have SIIB, SIOM. So there are a lot of colleges, but definitely the top 2 without doubt by a far stretch are your SIBM and SEM HRD. So nothing comes close to them. The others in the ranking are way below. But yeah, the English is 15, analytical and logical reasoning is 25, Quant and DI are 20. So you have a total of 60 questions in 60 minutes. And it's, as I said, it's conducted thrice. Right? So that's about SNAP. Typically happens December and in January. Next is TISSNET. It's one of the exams which a student will have to write if you are thinking of a college called TISS. TISS is one of the best colleges when it comes to HR and Ops. In fact, sorry, not Ops, HR and Economics. Okay, one of the best colleges. If you want to really get into the field of HR or into economics, I don't think there is anything else which is better than TISS. It's as good as the top IIMs. It's very well considered, very well renowned in the industry. So it has a pattern where you have the exam for 100 minutes, 60 minutes, 1 hour 40 minutes, so 60 plus 40 is 100 minutes. You have a total of 100 questions too. So 100 questions, 100 minutes. Now the big problem here is 40 questions of GK. Trust me when I say this, guys. Today you go and write, you will be getting out of this 60, you might end up getting 35 to 40 even today without too much of preparation. So your English and maths and logical reasoning in TISSNET is not difficult at all. The biggest challenge for you will end up being GK. So if your GK is weak, you will not get a TISS call. So if you are seriously thinking of TISS, you have to prepare a lot in your GK. In fact, GK you will probably have to score 20 plus, otherwise you will not get a call, because the total at which the calls will come for you for your economics and HR courses is around 80 plus. So even if you get a perfect 60 here without getting 20 marks in GK, you will not get a call. And 20 marks in TISS GK is not easy. So you have to really focus, prepare on your GK part if you are thinking of TISS. Okay. The marking scheme is +1 and 0, which means you can attempt all. There is no negative marking. Even then, even if you randomly mark, getting 80 and above is not that easy. Okay. Yes, and the unique thing is there is cutoff for GK. If you don't get 35% in GK, if you don't get 35% of the marks in GK, so what is 35% of 40? So 30% is 4, 3s are 12, plus half percent, so 2. So if you're not getting 14 marks out of 40, you will not be qualifying. So minimum 14 questions you have to get correct. That's the problem, or that's one of the things which is unique about TISS. If you have to get considered into it, there is no sectional requirement for math and English. Combined, you need to get a score. But GK separately, they say get 14 marks minimum, otherwise you'll not get in. Okay. Similarly, for other categories, the cutoff will change. But yes, for general category and EWS category, there is a minimum GK requirement. Of course, there is no negative marking, so anybody will answer all the questions. The exam is usually in the end of February. Okay, it's usually at the end of February. The next exam is MICAT. It's again an exam which is giving you a road, which gives you an entry into MICA, one of the best colleges when it comes to marketing. So anybody who wants to do something in marketing would know about MICA and would have MICA in their radar. Yes, there are IIMs which are giving you excellent marketing courses, no doubt, but MICA has, made a name for itself in the field of marketing and advertisements, of course. So it's again, this is a unique exam. It's way different from your other normal exams. So you have a psychometric, which is about 150 questions. Then you have a descriptive test of 4 questions. Then you have English, quant and general awareness of 20, 20 and 20 each, and reasoning for 20. So now the biggest problem here is this psychometric, you can't prepare for it. That's the whole idea. Psychometric, you can't prepare. The descriptive test is, it's something unique. So they will have, I'll give you an example of how this test is different. So they will ask you to write an essay where they'll give you 4 images and they'll ask you to write a story connecting these 4 images. It's not an essay, so they want to see your creative side. At the end of the day, it's a marketing college, right? So they want to see how creative can you be. So they say, okay, I'll give you these 4 images, make a story out of it. Or they'll give you a story which is half written and they'll ask you to finish it given some parameters. So something like that. It's not your usual day-to-day MBA entrance exam. It's very different. It's very interesting. And of course, this part of the test is again similar. Your reasoning is there, your GK is there, your VA is there. That's similar. The number of options is again interesting. In the aptitude part, so this is the aptitude part of the exam. The number of options keeps changing. So last year there were options like 8 options, 7 options, 6 options randomly. So the question can become difficult even if the options are there, because there are so many options that you have to carefully look at. And yes, the math actually last year ended up being difficult for this particular exam. Many students who even prepared for CAT ended up making very bad scores, or getting very bad scores in the quant part. So this is one exam which tests your ability to make decisions, because lengthy questions you're supposed to leave, easy questions you're supposed to pick up. That's the whole point. Apart from that, they will test your ability to think and write creatively. So this is 30 minutes psychometric, 25 minutes is the descriptive part, and 120 minutes is basically your aptitude part. So that's about 80 minutes there. So total duration of the exam is 2 hours and 15 minutes. It is conducted twice. The better score of the two, you can write both the times, the best of the two scores is considered, just like your NMAT or just like your SNAP. You can write it more than once, but the best score will be considered. The marking scheme is +1 minus 0.25, so you can't randomly attempt here. And yes, the exam date is January and December. So December once it will happen, and January will be the other time that the exam will take place. And yes, this college also considers CAT, XAT and GMAT score. So there are two things to this. So I'll very quickly talk about it. There is a CAT exam or a XAT or a GMAT. You write, if you get a minimum score, you will go to write this TISSNET. So you have to qualify here, minimum score, you need to get some minimum score, then you'll write this TISSNET exam. Once you get a qualification score here, then you'll go to the next process, next step. So it's not that you can directly go and write TISSNET, you have to apply to the college to write the exam itself based on your CAT and XAT or GMAT score. So that's how it works. The next is CMAT, which is Common Management Aptitude Test. This is an exam which has admissions into some of the best colleges. I think JBIMS now, I need to check whether JBIMS is still a part of CMAT or not. It is definitely a part of MAHCET, which I'm going to talk about. But does it accept CMAT score also? I'll need to verify that once. But otherwise, the other top colleges are mentioned over here. The exam pattern is 20 in English, 20 in DILR, 20 in Logic, 20 GK, and 20 in this area called Innovation and Entrepreneurship. So it's an entire section which talks about what are the terms related to innovation, what are the terms related to entrepreneurship. It's more about definitions that you need to learn. There's nothing logical about it. Yes, you need to understand the process of innovation and technology and entrepreneurship, and the questions come based on that. In fact, last year was the first time this section was introduced, and we at BYJU'S Exam Prep conducted a lot of these sessions. Almost about 16 to 17 questions have ended up coming from what we discussed in the free sessions. So yes, we know what is going to happen as far as the innovation and entrepreneurship is concerned. We were able to guess that very well last year, and I hope we'll be able to do that this year too. So there'll be 4 options. There is no sectional time limit. It's a 3-hour exam. Now what is unique about this exam? It's the fastest exam for you to finish. SNAP, whether you like it or not, 60 minutes the exam gets over. Here, it's a 3-hour exam, but you will finish everything in probably 1.5 hours, and you can actually sleep for the remaining 1.5 hours. Last year, even an average student finished the paper in 2 hours. Because look at it, you have basically GK and entrepreneurship, there's nothing to solve. You'll finish 40 questions in like 15 minutes. Then you have English, Logic and Quant. Even if you take 1 hour, 1.5 hours there, you have at most only 60 questions. So even if you spend a lot of time for these 60 questions, you will finish within 2 hours. 2 hours, 15 minutes, worst case scenario, you'll still have 45 minutes left to sleep. So that's how the exam is. It happens usually in the month of April. The marking scheme is +4 and -1. You get -1 if you leave it, +4 if you get it, -1 if you get it wrong, +4 if you get it right. The next exam is MAHCET. Again, Maharashtra CET is one of the biggest exams. Almost about 1.2 lakh people write it every year. So it's as big as, in fact, it's bigger than XAT in terms of the number of students writing it. Of course, CAT, 2 lakh people write CAT, so that's the biggest in terms of numbers. But the second biggest in terms of numbers happens to be this MAHCET. So the top colleges are JBIMS, Sydenham, Wellincott, XIMR, University of Pune, which is Pumba, and so on and so forth. So you have again a very, very long list, these being the top colleges. This is an exam which is extremely, you need to be very, very fast. It's an exam which tests your speed. This year, when I've given the exam, so I write these exams every year. So this year, I just gave the exam 3-4 days back, or 5. I think it was on 24th. Yeah, 24th of August. So the exam is for 2.5 hours. But trust me when I say this, my friends, the 200 questions in 150 minutes. First of all, you can see that the number of questions per minute, it's basically you can't do one question per minute if you want to finish all 200. So the logic here is you can't solve all 200. In fact, a lot of students will not be even able to read all the 200. So many students find it problematic to start and reach the end point. And there are definitely questions, some questions which are at the level of CAT, some questions which are dead easy. So that this exam is basically, think of it like a labyrinth. It's like a maze. You have to go through the maze, pick the easy ones, leave the hard ones. Whenever there is a door closed, don't try to bang on it or open it. So what I mean is, when there's a difficult question, leave it. Take the next road or take the next door which is open. So there are deliberately easy questions, difficult questions mixed. There are hardly any moderate questions. So either it's very difficult or it is easy. The student, what they're trying to test there is, can you decide quickly that this is difficult and move on? I don't want to confuse you with moderate questions. That's what the examiner says. I'll either give you easy or I'll give you difficult. If you are smart, you will easily pick the easy ones and you'll easily leave the difficult ones. I don't want to confuse you because moderate ones, people will get lost in it. So last year, this year, in fact, a few days back, the exam which was conducted, it was conducted on 3 days, 23, 24, 25. So different students had different slots. So the whole idea is, you have to be very, very, very quick in answering something and getting out to the next question. You can't sit and keep solving questions for hours together. That's about this exam called MAHCET. There's no negative marking. Okay, there's one unique part. The paper is entirely jumbled up. So you have one English, then next logic coming up, then maths coming up, then English coming up, then DI coming up, whatever. There is no section per se in it. All of them, all 200 questions are completely jumbled up. Okay. In fact, there were in the 4 days back when I was talking about, some slots also had RC being jumbled up, which means one question of RC comes in the beginning, the second question of the same RC came 5 questions later. In between there was some maths or DI. Third question of the RC came another 3-4 questions later. So it was like randomly jumbled up. So that's one of the things that happens in this MAHCET paper. Okay, it requires definitely student cannot go ahead directly and write it with the CAT preparation. The knowledge would be same, but the practice will be very different. You have to be at least 2-3 times faster than the decision making of your CAT. CAT you have time. You at least have to be 2 times more faster than CAT in terms of deciding whether a question should be done or not. Yes, typically it happens in the month of May. This time it happened in the month of August for various reasons, COVID and all, because Maharashtra CET, it's for typically for Maharashtra students. Outsiders can also write, no doubt, but for Maharashtra colleges. And Maharashtra had a lot of COVID cases, so they kept postponing it. It was supposed to be in May, then went to June, July, then finally it happened in the month of August. That's about this exam. The next exam is MAT. These are the top colleges which come under your management aptitude test. It's basically 5 into 4, so 200 questions exam, English, Math, DA, CR, Critical Reasoning, India and Global Environment is another topic, like basically GK but related to this particular domain. So a total of 5 sections, 40 questions each, so 5 into 40 is about 200 questions. 4 options, no sectional time limit, the exam duration is 2.5 hours. Now, the unique thing about this is conducted 4 times in a year. And one of the best parts about this exam is you can choose to write the exam either in the online format or in the paper and pen based format, or they have something called as remote proctored exam. Because of the COVID, they are allowing students to take this from their home, provided the video is on and there is an invigilator sitting at the other end and watching the student through the video. So this is one exam which allows the students to do this. So that's what basically happens, and these are the dates, these are the months, February, May, September and December. So the exam score is valid for up to 1 year. So if a student writes the exam in September of this year, that is 2022, then this score can be useful for the next year admission. Okay, because the validity is up to 1 year. And finally, the last exam is ATMA. It's basically another management aptitude test. And the colleges, so the top colleges basically that accept this score are IMS Ghaziabad, FIIB and IRMA. This has two sections of each category. So analytical reasoning, there is analytical reasoning 1 and analytical reasoning 2, verbal ability 1 and 2, then you have quant 1 and 2. So there are totally 6 sections, but basically 3 sections split into 2 each. So 3 2s are 6, and each section is 30 questions. So 6 into 30 is about 180 questions. So that's the total that you have, and there is 30 minutes time limit per section. So there is a sectional time limit, making it totally 3 hours. Okay, making it totally 3 hours. So you have +1 and minus 0.25. That's basically the plus and minus. But the unique thing about this exam is you can choose what section order you want. Usually, if there is sectional time limit, very few MBA entrance exams allow you to choose what section you want. Like NMAT does it, GMAT does it, and here ATMA allows you to choose the sections. Otherwise, the section starts without your interference. It starts with whatever the exam wants or the examiner wants. So like CAT always starts with English. You can't change it. But here you can choose what sectional order you want. And the exam dates basically, okay, this is February, May, so this is not correct. This happens in the month of May or June. Typically, this is the timeline at which it happens. Right, so guys, these are the top MBA entrance exams that a student can consider. I'm not saying you have to write all of them. There are few pros and cons of writing these exams depending upon what college you want to get into. If you're not interested in marketing at all, then there's no point writing a MICA exam. Or if you're not interested in economics or HR, no point writing tests. So again, as I said, first decide where you want to go, then look at the colleges, then look at the exams. So that's the flow for you. I hope you enjoyed the session and you've got some information that was missing for you. We will be conducting a lot more sessions going forward. So please be hooked onto our channel. So basically be subscribed onto our channel. Keep following us on Instagram as well as YouTube. Download the app and be there with us on our app sessions too. Thank you, my friends. I will see you soon in the next live session.
Want to be a topper in MBA entrance exams? Join BYJU'S Exam Prep, CAT and MBA YouTube channel and watch serial 99 percentilers teaching you the tips and tricks.